What's up, boys? It is me, your boy HoboCheese, back on the mic to talk about Cyberpunk 2077. So, I recently got around to playing this game for the first time, and I've probably put in about, I would say, like 15 hours so far into the game, and I am loving it. And this is a game I'm actually really happy to say I didn't get to play on launch. So, as everybody knows, at launch there was tons of issues, right? Super rocky start, lots of technical issues, bugs, performance problems. If you played on console, there was console optimization issues. And overall, just for a game that had so much hype and so much prestige behind it, because, CD Projekt Red was coming off of Witcher 3 and all that fun stuff, they just lacked a lot of that polish, right? It lacked a lot of that, that little shine that we expect from these types of games. So over the year, it came out, 2020? So over the years, can't believe it's been years, they have actually improved it. So this is, I'm happy to say, a redemption story on their end. So the game itself, I feel like, had a fantastic foundation. I just think because it was riddled with so many issues and optimization issues, that it really held the game back from being something great. So let's talk about some of the things that Cyberpunk 2077 actually does really well. So the first and foremost, most important thing, in my opinion, is the gameplay. And that applies to any game. If it doesn't have good gameplay, what's the point, right? Why should I even give you the time of day? So right off the bat, the game runs really smooth, especially with all the updates. There's no graphical issues, nothing like that. It's really smooth. Like when you walk forward, like you feel like you're actually walking. When you run, it feels like you're running. I know these sound like really dumb things, but they all culminate to something. The gunplay is actually really nice in this game. I don't think it's the best gunplay, but it is what it is, and I do think it's actually better than Starfield's, if anybody's played that game. It has action packed for sure. I mean, you can literally create combat at a moment's notice. I mean, it's kind of got that GTA-esque, star system. You could fight anybody you want and just kind of get something going if you want to start combat immediately. There's stealth mechanics in the game. There's hacking in the game, so it kind of like has like this Watch Dogs-esque like hacking type system. The driving in the game is actually pretty good, and there's just like an overall like diverse and like not end game but gaming system throughout the whole thing, where you're like upgrading your body, upgrading your weapons, things like that, to flesh out and like create this whole gameplay experience that just feels good to do from like start to finish. I'm not even done with the game, but it just like the whole progression feels like impactful, and I think that's important to any video game. And when you get a reward or like you get a skill point or something, you actually feel that upgrade, which is really nice. The next thing I want to talk about is the graphics in this game. Oh my god, it is a beautiful game. I cannot stress this enough. I don't know how it was before, like with the bugs and the freaking graphical issues, but now like the RTX on meme is for real. I get it. Like the water, I could like I could sip it. You know what I'm saying? I could drink that water. And just the city in general really like, it looks exactly like a futuristic city. And like obviously it's Cyberpunk, it's supposed to look like a futuristic city, but they do such a good job of making you feel like this is a place kind of like that you could go to, like you could see this being like a real thing at some point in life. I don't have the best graphics card, but I have a 3070. It's all right, but I was able to turn the graphics up a bit, and I could only imagine what it looks like on absolutely capped out graphics. This game is beautiful. If you are in it for graphics, I totally think you should check this game out, because this is one of the prettier games I've ever seen. And the actual, what am I going to say? Like the visuals, right? So like the water moves, like the people react when you aim guns at them. And I know that's not like a graphic thing, but it's like a visual, right? So visual and graphics, I'm trying to say, go hand in hand. There's a lot of like the cars will like hit you and you can like sometimes see the dent, right? Like, it's just so bizarre to me that they put so much detail into such minuscule things. But when they do that hundreds of times, these things add up. And like I said, just create a more fleshed out experience, you know, from top to bottom for the graphics itself. So, I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful game. And the last thing I want to talk about is the story. So, I'm a lore nerd, and, you know, this is the, you know, Night City, right? Like, storyline. I'm just talking about the main storyline, not the side quests. I know there's a lot of side quests and stuff like that that you can get into. But it does have a pretty strong narrative. I don't resonate with it a whole bunch, personally, just because I'm not that much into, like, these, like, gang type stories and things like that. I just enjoy playing the game. But something I always talk about is you have to have a surface level understanding of the narrative, even if you don't want to get super involved with it. Meaning, you should be able to understand the story to like a pretty good degree without having to pay that much attention. So that way you can feel connected somewhat to the game, you know, from a narrative standpoint. And I think it does do that just enough. Like I said, it's not my favorite story, but I think it's good enough that it can keep you engaged when people are talking and like listening to the text on the screen. And, you know, you have the different options which give you slightly different responses when you talk to NPCs. That's nowhere near Baldur's Gate level. Like, nothing is near that. Okay, so don't compare it to that. But it kind of reminded me of like Mass Effect in a way, where it like gives you, you know, these different narrative outcomes. So while the choices, you know, I want to say that they're meaningful, but it, honestly, like, I feel like they gave you like 3 possible outcomes, and like whatever tree you go down like leads to one of those outcomes. But either way, I think it's kind of cool. It's something different. We don't get in a lot of games, and it's definitely a lot of fun. And the last thing I want to talk about is, and the most important thing, honestly, that I wanted to talk about was, I think that they listened. So obviously, I feel like they took a while to get here, but they did nonetheless. And I think it's our job as content creators, as gamers, as a whole, to recognize when a studio does something right, even if it does take them a while. We don't owe them anything. I've said this a million times. We don't owe a gaming company anything. But I am not opposed to admit when, you know, a company does something right by their player base. And if you have this game and you know, had issues or whatever at the start, I highly recommend that you go back and check this game out, because it has been a blast so far for me. Like I said, I never got to play during the bugs and everything like that, which I'm really grateful for. But if you have and you've been wronged by this game, I mean, I would say go take a double check look at it and just see how it plays and see how you feel about it now, because I think they really fleshed out a lot of stuff and made it feel like a more complete game. It does suck that they weren't able to do that at launch for the player base, but, you know, you take what you can get these days. I mean, shit, we got Diablo 4, right? Anyways, have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I appreciate you all. And that is it.